the first of its series, and it's called the Collaborating for Success. We're collaborating, we're cooperating, we'll be coordinating quite a lot of knowledge building, capacity building from now henceforth. This is the first one we'll be embarking on, and you actually, you know, we're so much honored for you to be part of this, and we really welcome you. We appreciate your turning up, and we believe this is going to be an awesome meeting for every one of us. So you're welcome. I'll actually be passing you to Josephine, who will be taking this further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, B. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josephine, and you're welcome to Parents as Partners. It's an honor to welcome you all, parents, grandparents, parent-to-be, caregivers, teachers, policymakers. Thank you very much for being here. Basically, everyone wants their families to be happy, but so many things get in our way, you know, some of which include stress, commitment, and our children's challenging behavior. Some less obvious, like our habits and expectations, and our being reactive rather than being proactive. And then sometimes we don't even have clarity around what a happy family is and what it does. And so that brings us to why we're here today. And at this point, I would like to hand over to our moderator, Abosede Paul Obamiso. Bose, are you there?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you once again for joining us. It's a privilege to be hosting this session. It's the first in the Granny Morris series in cooperation, collaboration, and coordination. As both B and Josephine have introduced to us, this is parents working together. It's a new normal. There's no one who's lived through these times before. So we want to all try and see how we can make this work for ourselves, how we can work together to build up and bring up children who are growing up in this time where they're not even sure of what tomorrow looks like. They're not in school right now. We don't know how we're bringing them up, but we want to just see how we can all bring our ideas to the table and make it work for ourselves. So once again, you're welcome and thank you for joining us. Housekeeping. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Can everybody see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, just some housekeeping before we get the show on the road. There's a question and answer button. Please try and use it to ask your questions. We will take the answers to these questions towards the end. So if you have someone in particular you want responding to that question, kindly put the person's name and we'll be sure to ask it and get it answered. And anything we're unable to answer, we will definitely get back to you. That's the Granny Murray promise. Also, we will be scrolling a poll as time goes on. Mr. B, can you quickly just flash it for us? Let us see. We'll be scrolling a poll as time goes on so that we can get some information. Recall that, like I said, this is us trying to define the new normal. So we want to hear from you. We want to see what you have for us. We want to use it to add to the body of knowledge that we already have so that we can take this forward. Okay. Yes, let's go right into it. Children, fortunately, are not the face of this pandemic. Thankfully, they're not suffering as much in terms of the health, but their effect on their well-being. They're seated at home now, most of them. In 188 countries of the world right now, children are home from school. Some countries are beginning to open back up. But what does that mean? I don't know how many of us have seen the videos, the pictures of likely ways that children are going to be looking back in school. And I take the example of my daughter and the Oke's daughter. When they see, they act like they haven't seen in years. And then we expect them to go back to school and sit 2 meters apart. That's even not so bad if it is during school work, school time. Have you seen the picture from proposed playtime? Playtime, they're going to sit down. They're expected to sit down in rings apart from one another. That has implication for mental health. We're trying to build up children who know how to share, who know how to care, who know how to play together, who can resolve conflicts. But then we're saying to them again that because there is COVID-19 and the potential effect, oh, you can't play with your friend anymore. You can't be close to them anymore. There are the mental health issues that we're not even thinking about. So yes, thankfully, they are not getting infected as much, and we hope that the situation stays the same. But what about the long-term effects? And that's why we have all of you people here today, and we're hoping that with our panelists, we're able to make sense of something that begins to look like a new normal, but a new normal that will not cause problems down the road for ourselves as parents and for our children, even as they begin to grow older, that this time, the lasting effects of this time will be okay, better hygiene, but not worse problems than we're already seeing in terms of socialization. So essentially, this session is about, so what does this mean for parenting and education in the new world? It's a new world, and it's a unique world because we are evolving even as the issue is here. We've heard all around us that it's not even a case of this might be over forever. It might end up being such as the flu, where there's flu season, for instance, and it comes again and again. How long are we going to close the schools? How long are we going to say social distancing? How are parents supposed to cope? This is not the time that any individual wants to lose a job, but at the same time, we are sitting in the homes and we need to be supporting these children. There's a lot that we're dealing with at this time. And to help us shed a lot more light to it, we're going to be looking at the fantastic group of panelists that are going to be helping us talk about this and see how we're going to just be navigating this. Of course, we don't have all the answers. We're trying, and hopefully we will all walk through it and partner. So quickly, I will be introducing my panelists. Thank you all. We have Ms. Samira Jibril. She holds a Bachelor of Education in Language Arts, a Master's in Human Resource Management, a Master's in Education Curriculum Management, and is currently working towards her PhD in Public Admin. Samira is a seasoned educationist. She's the founder of the Gleason International Academy, a primary and secondary school in Abuja. She has partnered with reputable national, regional, and international educationists towards improvement and sharing of best practices in educational services and management. Samira previously served as the president of the FCT chapter of the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools. She is an ambassador of the British Council's International School Awards. She's vice president, North Central, of the African Women Entrepreneurs Program, AWE, and she's a member of the board of trustees to many national and international institutions and NGOs. And all on top of that, she's a mother, and today, uniquely, she's our only grandmother in the building, and we're hoping that the insight from her, of course, will be invaluable. You're welcome, Samira. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Is she here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome,
Thank
Samira.
you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank
Next,
you.
I'll be
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, ma'am. Next,
you.
I'll be introducing Lara Abitoye. Lara Abitoye is a medical doctor. Specifically, she's a certified pediatrician. She's a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. She got her first degree from the College of Medicine at the University of Lagos. She interned at Flushing Hospital Medical Center in New York and received a master's in public health from the Harvard University. Lara is dedicated to the care of children, adolescents, and young adults. You will agree with me that she is right in the right place today. Over the course of her career, she has served at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia and remained to work after her residency as a general pediatrician, serving the Princeton, New Jersey community. She was also on the faculty of the General Pediatrics Department of the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. When not caring for kids in her office, Lara Abitoye loves to spend time with her family, which includes her son, her daughters, and her husband. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Lara.
Thank you.
You're
so
welcome,
much.
Lara. Let's hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll be introducing Ebuka Anichebe. Ebuka is passionate about teaching and human capital development, is a published author, distinguished teacher, and business strategist. Ebuka has a 15-year career spanning positions in senior executive management, sales and marketing, business process reengineering, and brand management. He is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Jean Paul and Associates Consultancy, a business development company. Ebuka is an avid writer, a skilled business development manager, a creative executive. It combines a deep understanding of consumer marketing, social marketing for government agencies, and B2B business environment knowledge. He also runs a daily comic blog at Meet the Okoros on Instagram and Facebook. Ebuka writes for a number of business magazines and blogs on www.askebuka.com. Ebuka is dad to 3 beautiful children. You're welcome, Ebuka. Can we see you, hear you? You're welcome, Ebuka.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you
still
for
on
joining
hold, but I'm
us.
going to be joining you live.
We can hear you clearly either way. It's good. Thank you.
Can you see me though?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you.
You can see me. All right then. Thank you.
Okay. Quickly, we'll be going to our next panelist, Irene Bangwell. Irene Bangwell is an educator, a parenting coach, a mom, and a wife. Irene Bangwell and her husband Kingsley are the co-founders of the NOS 100 Naira a Day Secondary School, a private public secondary school in Kuje, Abuja, designed for children from low-income families. For 100 Naira a day, school children get uniforms, books, lunch, and the girls get sanitary pads monthly. See, my panelists are up to the task. I'm sure you're waiting to hear from them. As a parent coach, Irene works with parents to raise girls who are unlimited and not defined by stereotypes. She is the host of the Parenting Champions community with Irene Bangwell on Facebook and Telegram. She is the author of 4 highly resourceful parenting books, convener of the 28-Day Purpose Challenge and the 7-Day Purpose Email Parenting Challenge. Through these platforms, she helps parents identify their children's potential, organize around shaping their behavior, and fearlessly launch their children into success as they grow into adults. Irene sits on a few boards, including School Resource Center Abuja, Teach to Lead Initiative, and Teens Empowerment. She's a mother to 2 leading girls who love God, art, science, and want to solve global problems. I really love the way that she has described her girls here. You're welcome, Irene. Let's see you, let's hear you. You're welcome, Irene.
Welcome, Irene.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good to be here tonight, this evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Hey, Vivi.
Thank you, Irene. You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, I'll be introducing Tone Ayo Adiola. Tone is a legal practitioner with over 15 years experience. Her experience spans global oil and gas and the shipping industry. She is a skilled negotiator with experience in contract management and administration. Tone is a member of the Institute of Directors, International Bar Association, Nigerian Bar Association, and the Association of International Petroleum Negotiators. Tone served as a chat space expert for the U.S. Department of State's special webinar on African women entrepreneurs. She takes a keen interest in relevant societal development and regularly lends a voice to children, youth, and women's causes. Tone lives in Scottsdale, Arizona with her husband and 3 children. You're welcome, Tone. Can we see you, hear you? You're welcome, Tone.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Last but not least, we have Vivian Okoye. You're going to have a good laugh with something that Vivian has told us about herself today. So let's hear. Vivian Okoye is a doctor of optometry. She's a certified child psychologist, parent coach, and author. She is the founder of Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy and convener of Parent Summit Africa, an annual event where parents gather to discuss issues relating to parenting. This event was set up as a platform that gathers parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant parenting conversations, as well as to advocate the total well-being of the African child through parenting education. Dr. Okoye is the author of the book, Your Toddler and You. She provides parents with the knowledge, skills, and tools to address behavior problems in children and raise wholesome humans in this time and age. Vivian and her work have been featured on channels, television, Guardian newspaper, and BBC News. She is happily married. Please note, she is happily married to one man, and together they have 2 children. Not 2, please. You're welcome, Vivian. It's lovely to meet you and have you here. Thank you. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Thank you for being with us today. So we will go right into it very quickly. And we have a set of questions. As I said earlier, please, we have a Q&A box. As they begin to speak and you have your questions, kindly begin to send us in your questions. The poll will be scrolled on your screen soon. Kindly respond to the poll questions so that we can begin to gather the information. Okay, quickly, I'll be taking on from Vivian. I want to be talking to you about parental bonding under COVID-19. From your bio that we just read, you're not new to supporting parents to bring up children that are future ready, but it's a new world. What are we doing? What would you advise us to do in this time and after now? How can we make things better? Please go ahead. You have about 3 minutes. Sorry, Vivian. You have about 3 minutes, and when Vivian is done, anyone else who wants to contribute to this topic has about 1 minute, and then we will wrap up this and go to the next section. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. And I'll start by saying, as parents, like you said when you introduced the conversation, none of us have had to deal with a time like this before. The pandemic is new to every one of us. We haven't gone through something like this, both us and both our kids. So one thing for parents to do is to be easy on themselves, right? You don't want to put pressure on yourself. You don't want to be too hard on yourself, because the anxiety doesn't help. The anxiety doesn't solve anything. So you want to be easy on yourself. There's a lot of pressure on the parents. I mean, you have to provide the school support, you have to be there spiritually, you have to provide normal day-to-day needs for your kids. And it's easy to get overwhelmed, and then it's easy to look around and then feel inadequate and start to beat yourself up. So one place to start is to know that you're not alone. It's one day at a time. So you don't want to pressure yourself, because it's only when your mind is clear and free from anxiety that you can actually think straight and find real solutions to your problem. And then even though we're in a time where we are all social distancing, being away physically doesn't mean that you cannot get help and support virtually, right? So you want to also have a circle of support. Support is really important in the parenting journey, right? So you want to have a circle of real support, because overwhelm is real, anxiety is real, and we're in an uncertain times where it's easy for you to get overwhelmed, for you to get anxious. There are people who have their loved ones sick, who have lost their loved ones, who have lost businesses, who have lost jobs, and you still have to be strong for your family and for your little humans, right? Now, you cannot, there's really a limit to how strong you can be and put up with. If you do not have a support or a support system where you can go and vent and then come out rejuvenated to be able to assist your children, then you're going to be easily irritable, and you're going to transfer your aggression and all those anxieties to your children, right? So if you want to actually be in the right state of mind as a parent, providing real and wholesome care for your children, you want to also take care of yourself. That's having a right support system and putting your self-care as priority, taking care of yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically as much as you can, finding time to take care of yourself, right? And then we also want to understand that our children are also going through some stuff. So it's easy to feel that kids are kids, like they don't have a care in the world, but this is also new to them. So you want to, as much as you are being kind to yourself, also understand that your children might be going through a difficult time, and you want to be kind to them as well. There's a lot of pressure for parents on homeschooling. So, you know, when the whole pandemic started, I was really scared for the kids, because now they are in a care of parents who do not have the skills to actually teach. Not many parents have the skills to teach children, especially the very little ones. Most of us here are teachers, and we are in contact with parents. We have issues of homework battles and all of that. Now you have parents who have to stay with these kids for weeks and months, and they are the first support for providing educational support for these kids. So, you know, there's a lot that can go wrong if the support is not right. You can actually kill a child's zeal for learning. You can cause a lot of harm for the child, right? So as a parent, it still comes down to that support, seeking the right skills, seeking the right knowledge, so that you can have the capacity to provide the care that your child needs at this point in time. Because right now, it's only the family that the children are looking up to. Now, the children do not have that second support of going to talk to teachers or having support from teachers. The parent is all that they have at this moment. It's quite overwhelming. It can be daunting, but if you have the right support, if you have the right skills, you will be able to do as much as you can, and then try to take it one day at a time. There is no competition. There is no magic to it. Wherever you stop each day, give yourself a pat on the back and start again the next day, right? So I think.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you so much. I mean, I can relate to a number of these things. Last week, my daughter said to me, "Mommy, I don't want to do anything." She's 8. She's not even said, "I want to play." And my son said, "I want to play." Like, you really cannot force them, because home typically is where they come to be laid back, to relax, and all of a sudden they have to be serious in that same space. So it really does take a lot of navigation. Thank you, Vivian. Please, anyone else who wants to contribute to this, we have 1 minute. Please contribute your thoughts to how can parents see that bonding is still happening even under COVID-19 lockdown. Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else?
I'd like to contribute.
Okay, please go ahead.
Well, I think, COVID-19, like Vivian said, took us all by surprise. Unprecedented, nobody knew what to do. So it was like, a new playing field for everybody. We had to learn as the process, was going by, and it was a fast, rapid learning curve. But I would also like to see, in the aspect of bonding, it was also an opportunity for us to slow down our lives. And I don't know if you agree with me, but life was on a fast pace. Everybody was like, you get up, you go to work, we were like robots. But this made families be at home in the house, and you have no choice but to find something to do amongst yourselves, mom, dad, the kids. So for us personally, I think it was very good for us, even though, overall, but when we talk about bonding, I was able to spend time, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree, more time with the kids, get to know your kids, things with them, get to play games with them, things that you wouldn't have done otherwise. So yes, I know, a lot of the kids thought they were on holidays. It was one long big holiday, but I also think that, on the bonding aspect, it was good. I like to say it was good, because we spend that time, get to know some of the insecurities, get to know, the child that you have, and just spend that quality time that has always been so elusive given our busy schedule.
And I love the fact that you talked about this, because it helps us set a good tone too. COVID-19 is scary, it's new, there's always gems to take away. You've put a positive spin on it, which is we can still see this as something that might not even come again. By the time we're all released again, everybody's running helter-skelter. So we can take this time and actually see it. For me, I was saying that if government says they should stay at home, let's stay at home and know that we're already doing summer holidays for 2020, for instance, and just take it like that. So thank you very much. Anyone else wants to contribute to parental bonding? Okay. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So, from my own experience, it was a very eye-opening time also, because for the first time, we, like Lara said and Vivian said, we had to stop and actually see the kids, like stop and know them. And sometimes, you know, you're in your house and you feel like you're on a show. Kids say they done this because the kind of things that they're saying, you're like, I didn't know you knew that, you know?
Yes.
So it was really expository for us, and also it helped us to know where we had limitations. Because for me, I mean, I used to be like, oh, homeschooling shouldn't be a bad idea. I can't do
it. You know better now.
I came to a very fruitful conclusion, and I stopped in my head, like, oh, what really are teachers doing? And for me, I actually took Teachers Appreciation Day differently, because I'm like, how do these people take care of so many kids?
Yeah.
And these are mine, and I feel like breaking their head sometimes, you know? So they're taking care of 20 people's children, and they have to still be as patient as possible. So I realized that even for parents, we have to learn a lot of self-control and say, okay, it's not really the kid, it's me. Maybe I didn't mature enough to know how to handle stressful situations. And you know, it has really helped a lot with self-discovery.
Yeah.
It's modifying everybody. Everybody, you're forced to be hands-on, whether you like it or not. You know, and I think it's a good experience, you know, if you look at it properly.
Yeah. I think definitely I agree with you about seeing things more from the perspective of a teacher. I think it's easy to say, oh, that's their job. But when you look at it, the fact that they are taking care of human beings and they have to be empathetic, at the same time, they have to be functional. And we want to put them on their toes to say, oh, my child is not doing this yet, forgetting that they were attending to 20 kids during the day. It's a lot. And like we've been saying, it's a new world order. We will appreciate them more now when we get back to school. Okay. Thank you everyone for the contributions. I hope that our questions are coming in. We will be going to the next topic now. Remember that even though we're moving on from this topic, it doesn't mean it's over. Please send in your questions, your contributions. Our polls will be ready at 6 o'clock, and then you will be able to fill it and send it back to us. So quickly, we will be going into, yes, it was a good segue to demanding roles for parents as educators. And we have Irene Bangwell to help us do justice to this. Irene, please go ahead.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be out here today. Talking about this conversation is one of the most interesting things for me, where I have to speak as an educator and as a parenting coach at the same time. So the first thing I would like to say is that, like Vivian and Lara and Tunwa said, this is something we have not been through before, right? So it means that it is one day at a time. But I want to give us some background thoughts to have in mind, which is that our kids are already going through a lot of pressure. If we make the online learning business, if we don't manage it right, it means we add to the pressures of what they have to deal with. So the first thing I want to say is my approach to the remote learning experiences that we're going through right now is keeping the kids alert academically. They're not preparing for any test. For me, they're not preparing for a major exam. It's the way that I kind of just keep their minds alert till whenever school resumes. So my approach to it is like this. Number one, I always tell parents that you are not the teacher. You're not the teacher. You're not the one responsible for teaching them definitions and advantages and disadvantages. I mean, I'm speaking from the Nigerian perspective now. Your responsibility, in my perspective, is to actually demystify lessons, right? So your child is learning a concept. Your responsibility is to look for a way to explain it in the terms that is relatable at home. So your child is learning science subject and he's learning about floating and sinking. You're the Game Boy who says, all right, let's do some sinking and floating games in the house. I have found that when parents understand that their role in education is to demystify education to their children, then they play a significant role in the education process. Because once they assume the role of a teacher, where they are the ones responsible for, you have to be able to memorize this, you have to be able, it becomes a grind. Then you add it to the pressure that the kids are not seeing their friends, they're not having enough social interactions as they used to. They're under a lot of pressure. So you are the demystifier, all right?
Yeah.
So the second thing I want to say is, as an educator now, the major role I want my parents to play with my students at this time is to give them structure. They need to go to bed on time. They need to wake up at a certain time. When it's meal time, it's time for meals. They know their children. They know when the children are under pressure. So they can take a break and say, all right, everybody go out, take some air, play, run around. They know when to bring in those breaks. They know when the siesta is to happen. As far as I am concerned, learning materials, learning content going home at this time should not be too heavy. It should not be the kind of content that we would give them in mainstream classroom, because we don't have the academic support at home for the children. So what we ought to do is keep it light enough for children to work independently, so that parents only offer supervisory roles. Parents are supervisors. They prep the kids to be in the mood for learning. Having said that, I want to add something to parents right now, which is that the third level for me is we need to support our children verbally. Many of us are used to our parents saying, why can't you read like your brother? Your brother finished the homework before you. Why can't you do this before that? I'm saying that when they come to school, especially where teachers are well trained, teachers know how to manage the differences with children, so that children don't start taking things, internalizing the feedback they're getting, which eventually interrupts and interferes with their learning process. So there should be no comparison. There should be, why can't you get it? Education doesn't work like that. Many things contribute to the getting it. So one of the things I found that works is, if a parent knows that, assumes and embraces their role as a demystifier, then they know that if my child is not getting it, I need to find another fun way for me to explain it. And if I'm not in the frame of mind yet to get into that thinking process, it's okay to let everything lie for now. It's okay to say, all right, let's come back to this later. It's okay to let it go. So those three things are key for me. You are not responsible for the heavy content. You are not responsible for heavy content. You're responsible for routine. So it means that no matter how you want to love upon your children at this time, they shouldn't be up at 10. You should still maintain some kind of reasonable allowance for them to be up and play, but they should still go to bed on time, because children work with routine. So if they're learning, then we need to build in routine into whatever they do. And then we need to pay attention to them. We need to pay attention to when they need breaks. We need to pay attention. And at this point, I like to appeal to teachers. We're not trying to cover syllabus in this break. This break is not part of covering syllabus. This break is keeping children alert. It's keeping content light enough for children to work independently. And then parents, you're a supervisor, make it fun. And when you're not in the frame of mind to make it fun, don't use your words to break. You yourself need a break. Like, for example, I'm out here today. It's not every day that I'm in the frame of mind to be creative with my girls. And on those days, I'm like, you know what, just pick a novel and read today. Mommy will not be able to do this. So if they're reading a storybook, my kids love to do art. Some days I tell them, I won't be able to log into that platform today. Go do some art. Go do. So we need to be able to know that we're not in a competition. It's already hard. We're not going to make it any harder, because when we start taking it in harder, our children bear the consequence, especially when we know that one of the roles that we play for children, especially when they're in primary, is to cultivate a love for learning. If during the holiday, the children lose that love for learning, it's going to be a struggle when they come back to school. So whatever you do, keep the spark of learning alive. Whatever you do, keep the excitement for learning alive. When you're not in the frame of mind to do that, do take a break. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you very much. I mean, you've even delved into a little of the mental angle of this, which I want Lara to still talk to us a bit about. There were some gems you threw down, which is, don't break their spirits in this time. I mean, there's no rush to cover the syllabus. I was saying to someone that this term, all the children should be taken to the next level. This is not the time to be looking for who did it better and who did. We're alive is the most important thing. We're alive, we're healthy. We can then take care of these other things later. Thank you very much, Irene. Lara, please can you come in here and talk us through mental health at this point? Hello, Lara? Lara? Okay, yes.
Okay, yes, I think I was muted. I think mental health is also going to segue into connecting with the struggling child, you know, which is also one of the topics that you have, you know, and I feel like we can, you know, deal with both at the same time. If I have the permission to do that.
Yes, please, go ahead.
It's all encompassing. So under mental health, you know, or I'm going to use, you know, the larger topic of connecting with the struggling child and touch on some points with regards to mental health. There are two basic categories that I'd like to touch on. Number one is, you know, is the child struggling academically, you know, does he have learning disorders, you know, or, you know, learning problems, or is the child having behavioral problems, you know, and all this, you know, come under the bigger category of mental health. I'm going to try and talk from the child's point of view now and how we can help, you know, a child with mental health difficulties. So when we talk about academic and learning disorders, we're thinking of things like dyslexia, which is, you know, a problem with difficulty with reading. There's dyscalculia, a child that has problems with math, and there's dysgraphia, which is a child that has problems with writing. You know, they just can't get the writing right. And when we now segue into behavior, we're thinking of things like behavioral problems, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADD, attention deficit disorder, autism spectrum disorder, conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, stubborn child that doesn't listen. And you know, more commonly we see things like anxiety, which is probably one of the major things we're seeing now, and then depression. There are other things that could also come up, like other psychiatric illnesses like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. But you know, for the purposes of this, I'm going to limit to just basic learning disorders and behavioral disorders. So learning disorders and behavioral disorders can be intertwined, you know, and so sometimes a child with a learning problem can, you know, start acting out and start, you know, presenting with symptoms of behavioral disorders, but all that stems from just the fact that child is having problems. A child that cannot read or has problems reading and cannot, you know, view the words, you know, properly, as with a child with dyslexia, is gonna act out each time you ask her to read. She's not gonna want to read, he or she. You know, they feel frustrated that they cannot master a subject, you know, or, you know, despite trying very hard, you know, to do that. They act out, and they may, you know, act helpless, and, you know, eventually they'll just withdraw, you know. Now, the combination of this may all contribute to a child not being able to, you know, succeed in school and in academics. So how do we help, you know, a struggling child? First of all, one thing you want to do is have a proper diagnosis. What's going on? Is the child just not wanting to read, or does the child have a medical problem? If the child has a learning problem, you know, then we have to address it. If there's a problem reading, then you have to spend more time teaching that child to read. You know, if it's dyslexia, there's specific programs, as I'm sure the academicians here will be, and educators here will be aware, that you can teach, you know, a child with dyslexia a certain way and allow them to read a certain way, take them out of regular school curriculum and teach them, and you know, eventually they start to, you know, succeed at reading, and that takes care of that problem. So it's not really a mental issue, it's just a learning problem. So like I said, early diagnosis, proper diagnosis, you know, for the younger ones, does the child have, for the earlier diagnosis, does the child have a speech problem? You know, even a 2-year-old that is not able to talk, he's gonna have tantrums, he's gonna shout, he's gonna scream, he's gonna roll on the floor. But the main problem is communication. That child cannot communicate. You know, so once we're able to, and I know at that age, some educators will teach the child sign language, you know, and at that age they can sign. So once you're able to communicate with the child, you know, you can better manage those tantrums. So once again, if we're able to early and properly diagnose, then we can address those issues. So for learning disorders, you know, basically you help, but what you provide is help in the area where the child has a problem, using specialized learning tools if needed, and most of the time that is taken care of. Now, when we now talk about behavior, and this, you know, this includes mental health as well. In addressing a struggling child with behavioral problems, there's specifics that we use to treat certain disorders, but generally, and this goes for every child as well. Number one, you want to maintain a daily schedule, which everybody is pretty much,
agrees to.
Exactly. We can't overemphasize that the importance of that daily schedule, because kids thrive on routine, and it's very important to maintain that routine, especially in these COVIDian times.
COVIDian times.
A lot of the children think they're still, so for us personally, we when it happened, we were on spring break, we were on holidays, midterm. And then, so by the time school started, the children started thinking that, they're still on holiday. We're like, no, school has started, so, we had to daily schedule, wake them up at the same time, get dressed for school, come down, eat breakfast, and go sit in your place where school starts, and then log into wherever you need to log into and maintain like you're still at school. So that's very, very important. Now, for a child specifically that has behavioral problems, you want to keep distractions to a minimum. You want to, a child that is forgetting things, is just very active. You want to provide specific and logical places for the child to keep schoolwork, toys, clothes, everything, you keep order. And if possible, for behavior as well, you can use charts. So if I came and as a parent and I came and I said, your shoe should always be here and they're here, you get a point. And that, leads us into the reward system, which I'm also going to talk about. You set small, achievable, reachable goals. A child that is struggling with behavior is not the one that you're going to give 5 instructions. Do this, do this, do that, do that. That you're setting the whole situation up for failure. Both the mom and the parent is going to end up in a shouting match. So what you want to do is small, achievable goals. You go do this, come back and tell me you've done it. Okay, good job, then, and if that's done, then you give another instruction, reward positive behavior all the time. It could just be, a good job. It could be, anything, it doesn't have to be an expensive toy. It could be, any kind of reward, but it's not necessarily toys. It could just be encouragement, words of encouragement. And that goes to show, that speaks to what Irene and all the others have said as well, that this is not the time to start shouting and, using
haven't finished the curriculum.
negative reinforcement that we do, comparison and things like that. This is positive behavior because each child is an individual. Then also, I spoke about using charts and checklists to help the child stay focused and on task. Then limit choices, you can't have 5 things. You either have this or this. So sometimes when you limit choices for children, it helps them succeed more because, if you give them too many choices, then it's like, oh, what do I do? This or that. But when you limit it to 2 choices, it's either this or this. It helps them in making decisions easier. You also want to find activities where the child is successful. It's not, if the child is successful in a certain sport, you might want your child to play piano, but he may love to play, the violin, but then if you're trying to force the child to play piano because that's your long life dream as a parent, it's like forcing a square peg into a round hole. So find out what activities your child, can succeed in, and encourage the child. My child likes to do art. My daughter, I'm like, what is this art? She'll paint this, paint that, mess up the whole house. I'm like, but in this COVID time, I found that I've had to,
let it go.
Let it go. Just create an area. You can stay here, do all the art you want, because it's also a way of them, because they're so cooped up in the house, they can't even go out, you know. That helps them relieve the stress. So it's not all academic, extracurricular activities they can do as well. Then calm discipline. You can use things like timeout, distraction, remove them from the unwanted situation, avoid shouting, because we're all in the house now. Everybody is getting on each other's nerves. So it's calm discipline. And of course, for parents as well, walk away from the situation. Take a deep breath, come back. Okay, all right, and then address the situation. So there's no meltdown, and not everything is going to end up in a shouting match. All right. So now, medically speaking, going forward, we can talk about behavioral therapy, where you have somebody that is going to do all this we're talking about. And of course, the last is medication therapy, because when kids have ADHD, we do give them medications, and we usually use stimulants as first line. For anxiety, as parents, find out, and a lot of children will have anxiety during this COVID time, because they're watching TV, you know, the children that are more, you know, anxious than others may start to, you know, feel scared. They don't even want to go out, you know, because they think once they breathe the outside air, they might have COVID, you know. The time, you know, once again, talk to the child. Find out if there are any underlying worries that you'll be surprised at what they're worried about, you know, that you don't talk to them, you know, have a time, bonding time, because one of the things that can happen during this time is that everybody is going to be on their own media, you know, platform, anybody on their devices. And so the goal of trying to connect, you know, which we can use this as, is also lost if everybody is not connecting. This is the time to talk, you know, find out what the child is anxious about and allay their fears. This is not the end of the world. They're going to find a vaccine. You know, the masks are protective. Teach them, you know, hygiene. You know, if you wash your hands, don't touch your face, then you will be fine, of course. And as, you know, you also, you know, religious as well, you know, because as, you know, Africans, we're religious people. We go to the, you know, we let them realize that we have a higher power, you know, that takes care of us, and, you know, God, you know, that is watching over us and keeping us safe. But most importantly, what can you do as a child? You know, keep your area neat, wash your hands, don't touch your face, okay? Alrighty, and all you can do is stay home. I'm gonna round up in a bit, you know, and now specifically hone on helping the struggling child or any child succeed in academics during the, or even, you know, behaviorally during the COVID pandemic. Let's not see COVID as all bad, okay? Let's look at it as this. There's some children that are homeschooled. And what the parents have done is that they found out that these children are struggling in the school setting. So they take them out and they teach them at home. You know, so before even COVID, children have been homeschooled and they do well. Homeschooling allows the children to learn at their own pace, you know. So there's some children that will benefit from this because the work doesn't have to be done at a full stretch like in school. You know, there's some kids that have problems staying with the school structure and they learn at their own pace at home. You know, so those are the positives that can come out of this situation. Also, even though some parents think that it's harder monitoring, personally, I found it was easier monitoring because guess what? The monitoring I had to do now was on the computer. So I could see what work has been done, what has been turned in, you know, and it was easier than checking textbooks and checking, you know, did you do your science homework? Everything is there, you know. So it can also be easier if you can collaborate with your teachers, you know, an easier monitoring process for parents, okay? COVID has laid a level playing field, even for the children that are struggling, for the ones that are, you know, doing well, doing well, they don't, you know, they can still maintain, you know, their academic, you know, levels. But for the ones that are struggling, this is a chance to catch up because I feel that at this time, everybody, do you understand, should be, you know, given a chance, you know, to move to the next level, you know, because really, at some point, you know, at this time, we're not able to easily, you know, assess the work they're doing, you know, you're not there to personally supervise. So let's make it a level playing field for everybody, both the struggling and, you know, the children that are doing well.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Yeah, just rounding up. How do we help children now and parents at home? Number one, quickly create an area for school in the house. It can't be anywhere random. Dedicate that area so they know, you know, this is the area for school. Maintain a daily schedule, have some outdoor time, have your recess like you normally have, go for walks, riding, wear masks, you know, while you're outdoors, and maintain good sleep habits. This is not the time to have a TV in the child's room. If you do, I'm gonna advise take it out, you know, so the bedroom is for sleeping, you know. Have a certain time where everybody shuts down with the electronic devices. You know, take it out at 7 o'clock, use the, you know, everything stops down electronically and we now bond and spend time talking. And then, you know, lastly, this is a very stressful time for everyone, you know, both the educators and the parents, you know, give yourself a break as a parent, you know, it will not be perfect. Remember that, but we can work towards achieving perfection. Take it one step at a time, one step at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Thank you so much. We've heard from the educator, we've heard from the pediatrician. I think it just all boils down for me to be the parent you wanted when you were a child growing up. I think The advantage that we have now is, yes, there's the pressure of work for those of us that have returned to work, but they're home with us more. So let's be the parent they need for them now and equip them so that when all this blows over, they are stronger people who are going to emerge from this, even though they're little, but then they know more about themselves from this period. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And there was something you said that is going to lead us nicely into my next question, where Samira is going to be helping us talk about balancing traditional and modern disciplinary approach and punishment and discipline. We know that children will be children, but in trying to be a functional parent, so there's a time to love upon them and there's a time to put them right. But then it's a new world. How can we do it in a way that we're keeping them, they're safe, and they know these are the right things to do? So Samira, please take it away.